Hello, and thank you for joining the Caterpillar Safety Services monthly webinar on improving your near-miss reporting program. I'm Abby Fansler with Caterpillar Safety Services, and I will facilitate today's event. First, I have a couple of announcements. The phone lines are muted, so please submit any questions you have for our presenter or comments through the chat area of WebEx to me anytime during the event. We'll use the final 10 to 15 minutes for your questions. Also, this event is being recorded. A link to the recording, including the slide presentation and the audio, will be posted to safety.cat.com/webinars. A PDF version of the slide deck will also be posted. Later today or tomorrow, you will receive a follow-up email with a link to the site and an invitation to complete a brief survey, and I hope you will do so. It helps us to improve these events. Also, finally, we are running a product promotion in line with today's webinar. All of you may receive 50% off an online order of our near-miss reporting training program called Report It. I'll share the coupon code and instructions for ordering that product at the end of Mike's presentation today. Our presenter today is Dr. Mike Williamson, a certified safety professional and senior safety consultant with Caterpillar Safety Services. Mike has more than 25 years of experience in the safety profession and works with organizations in a variety of industries to build employee-driven safety culture excellence. And with that, I'll pass the mic over to Mike.
Thank you very much, Abby, and thank you in the audience, even the ones offshore. I saw we have participants all the way from Germany. There's a significant interest in near-miss, and it turns out this is one of my favorite safety issues. It addresses what could lead to injuries and problems at the front line. It teaches people how to do personal risk assessment and then do something about it. And even with a little bit of humor from Abby on the title, Getting More from the Misses, this is a good program. And when done well, it makes a huge difference in safety performance and engagement and involvement and feedback in an organization. Now, this is not the first near-miss program or webinar that we've given. In fact, the reason we're giving it this time is that the feedback is we'd like to know more about near misses. And that feedback from you in the audience was, okay, we've seen all of the models that Caterpillar uses to develop solutions. Let's see some practical solutions that have come out of that. And so really the purpose of today's near-miss webinar is to give you some examples of what other organizations that have delved deeply into a near-miss or close call system have come up with. And in that way, you'll be able to benefit from their experience. Or in the continuous improvement world, a common terminology is you can steal shamelessly from what other people have done. We also sometimes call it R&D. Most people think R&D is research and development, but in this case, it's okay to rip off and duplicate what other people have done. Safety, a competitive edge, you bet it is. It deals with bottom line dollars. It deals with morale of an organization. It deals with productivity and throughput. And yet, from a standpoint of these other organizations, they're not trying to develop a competitive advantage and keep it secret. Really, their objective is to share it with you so you too can help eliminate injuries in the workplace and off the job. And near miss is just an excellent program to do so. So with that in mind, here we go. I often hear, why go to all the effort? I mean, a near miss is something that didn't really happen, and there's no harm, and there's no foul, and so why should we stop working? Well, let's take a look at some research that's gone in the past, and okay, here's some slides that you may have seen. But near miss has gone way back into the 1930s. That controversial person, H.W. Heinrich, Herbert Wagner Heinrich, as he looked at what was happening in the workplace, he developed his how many near misses lead to minor injuries, lead to major injuries, caused a lot of controversy. And why? Well, he didn't have a very good scientific approach, among other things, and we'll look at those other things as well. Back in the 1930s, scientific method wasn't very well advanced. And in the late 60s, Frank Bird took another shot at it, and then there was a group out of the UK that looked at it. And no matter how you look at the data, time and time again, organizations that are working have close calls, things that could have led to injuries, literally raining down in their job areas. And they don't lead to injuries yet, but certainly they could. And organizations that focus in on eliminating these things that could have been injuries noticeably reduce their injury rate. And we'll take a look at some of that data later on. So, with this Heinrich data and other data, there's been some controversy. Typically what I hear is that these higher risk events don't happen very often, and since near miss isn't done very well, then since they don't happen very often, it's hard to capture them because we don't pay much attention to that. And so near miss really doesn't work for high risk events that could lead to catastrophe. And the lower risk events, well, they happen more often, but they don't seem to make that much difference. And so why bother with them? Kind of the risk analysis that says if it's a high risk, we don't do it very well. If it's a low risk, it doesn't make any difference. And in our organizations, we're after a culture of correct. And no matter what the risk is, we address it, we work on it, and we resolve it. And we found that with that initiative, with that performance, with that focus, with that intensity, the whole culture changes. And no matter what it is, if it's not right, we work on fixing it. And so that's the approach that we're headed forward. And that's the answer to whether it's a high risk or a low risk. It doesn't really make any difference. If it's not right, we fix it. And here's another slide you may have seen also in the past, kind of the 5 fatal flaws to near miss. And there's issues at upper management. They like the idea of near miss, but they really don't know how to engage. The safety professionals, kind of simple. How come it doesn't work? Supervisors, as we turn in all this paperwork and not much happens, and I have to shut down jobs and take time off of my other job, and so it doesn't seem to be value added. Hourly employees I've talked to and worked with, that we do, not just Mike Williamson, there's some concern there that if they say this could have led to an injury, they could get some negative feedback, they could get punishment that goes with that, and many of them have had bad experiences in the past. They just want to stay away from this. And data management people, they have all kinds of IT, information technology, requests that come over the wall that lead to bottom line dollars. And here's something coming from something that really didn't happen, that I have to put time in on, and I have to go out and work in the field to work with people, and I'm really too comfortable in doing this, especially when operations and quality keep coming at me for more and more work. So kind of some typical issues that exist with near miss, that if you're going to have a good near miss system, you have to resolve these. So how about solving those problems? Well, in these slides, you'll see some of the Caterpillar approach, rapid improvement workshops, where people come together and take data and resolve the problem. Now, this concept started back in the 1960s with Dr. W. Edward Demling, the man who started the quality revolution worldwide. And he was concerned that in a quality department, in a quality initiative, people focused in on counting what they didn't want to have happen. scrap, rework, and the like. And they were focused in on reacting to scrap and rework. And he said, what you really need to do is to go to the upstream process that delivers the downstream results and error-proof that upstream process. And as you error-proof that upstream process, you must deliver accountabilities, activities that deliver solutions, not just activities for the sake of activities, but solution-focused activities. And you need to engage your people on the front line who see these issues every day. And so our rapid improvement workshop or continuous improvement teams use a lot of those techniques that Deming helped initiate on focusing in on the upstream processes and delivering downstream results that don't have errors in them. And here's a fishbone diagram or a cause and effect diagram from one of the customers for a safety action request, their name for near miss. And so you can see here, at least I hope you can, from the size of the print, that it's a typical cause and effect diagram. There's troubles with definitions and measures, the forms and the methods that we use, our technology, how we recognize, reinforce, give feedback, what kind of training there is, what the procedures are. And so this small team of people, usually kind of 5 to 8, with hourly and salaried people in on it, supervision, frontline people, even vice presidents, are focused in on what does it take to deliver an upstream process that has appropriate activities that resolve near misses. You see, there's a lot of material that needs to be worked on here. And this is what I found generally in near miss. One of the weaknesses is that, well, we'll run a training program, we'll launch some forums, and people will turn in near misses. And they do, and then it kind of tails off and they stop turning in near misses. The real issue is not a strong enough upstream process with accountabilities that make a difference and that have been thought out that focus and work inside your culture. So this is an example of it. And one of the other things that's typically not talked about in near miss is that, sure, it works on the job, but does it really work off the job as well? And I found that as you get better and better in near miss, your people start looking at things that happen off the job, and they then adjust what they do off the job to be safer. And most injuries occur off the job, as many studies have shown. In fact, one of these actually occurred to me relatively recently. Abby's got me giving you a webinar from my vacation time. I'm skiing in Colorado. So normally I'd be on the slopes, but I'm talking to you, and that's okay because I like doing this. And I've had some issues with impact of, for the most part, snowboarders. They come down the slopes and they're not always paying attention, and sometimes they're a little bit out of control. And I haven't had any major impacts, but I've had some nudges that I didn't feel good about. I've skied for a lot of years. I'm not what I call an aggressive skier. I go out there for enjoyment. Don't enter in any of the races or anything. Just enjoy being in the outdoors. And as I kept getting these infrequent nudges, near misses, I called up one of our Caterpillar people in Canada, a man by the name of Gord McDougall, who runs Caterpillar Rentals throughout Canada. Gord is an incredible skier, and he marshals downhill races even in the Olympics. And he is extremely concerned about safety. So I said, tell me about helmets, because I haven't worn them just because I'm not that aggressive a skier, didn't think I needed to until I kept getting run onto by boarders. And he said, I had the same problem. And here's how I resolved that. I bought this helmet with these goggles. And so I went out and bought that helmet and those goggles, and I'm feeling a lot better. And I'm not, I pay attention to boarders, but I have a less chance of me being injured than before. And so near miss really works off the job as well. There's been difficulties with near miss definitions. And so normally I don't read slides to you, but this one I'd like to. So near misses describe incidents where no property was damaged and no personal injury was sustained, but where, given a slight time or position shift, damage and or injury easily could have occurred. That's the OSHA definition. Wow, there's a lot there. When I go to the field, we try and make things a little bit simpler. Any occurrence, condition, or action that, when improved and corrected, results in a safer work environment and world-class performance. World-class performance, a continual striving for zero. Another one, if it's not right, my crew and I will take responsibility to fix whatever the problem is that's bothering us. The next one, an unplanned sequence of events or a situation that could have caused harm to people, environment, or property if conditions were different, or is allowed to progress, but did not. And then finally, a safety-related issue that I'm uncomfortable with and that I will work on solving. Why do I show you this? Why? Because, remember, these are practical examples of what organizations that have tried to institute near-miss have addressed and are using. So one of these might be right for you, or you may take a couple of them and adjust them to fit your situation. The real meaning of all this, the bottom line is, you saw a hazard and you corrected it before it had a chance to harm a person, environment, or property. Truly, this is the purpose of near-miss, to eliminate stuff that could cause issues before they do. And so let's take a look at that rapid improvement workshop approach without all the models. And once again, there's a lot of material here. And if you want to increase the font and look at it more closely, please do. But I feel I need to give you some detail that goes with that. So in our rapid improvement workshop approach, we have a POP statement, purpose, outcome, process. And so here's kind of a typical one. Improve our safety culture by engaging employees in an enhanced and well-defined safety awareness reporting process, which is easily communicated within our company. Pretty decent purpose statement. And if they accomplish that, then what are the outcomes? And again, I show you this because, remember, a strong upstream process must have detail to it that delivers accountabilities and actions that flow to the bottom line. So they're going to review the current flow chart, and that'll lead to some correction. They're going to review their close call process. They're going to develop defined activities that make a difference, and a training plan, and a measurement plan, and a recognition system, and a timeline. And they're going to pilot this process in an area. Once they've developed a solution, they're going to try it and make sure it works. And there has to be a communication plan that goes with that. And their near-miss card or their close call card probably isn't right. And so that'll lead to safeguards, safety awareness for everyone, acronym there, that works all of this. And so as you develop your near-miss systems, this is the kind of detail you'll need to have. Where did this come from? It came from that cause and effect diagram that was a few slides back. The cause and effect diagram is a brainstorming tool that inspires your people to fix what they and their employees know not working right with the particular process. And here's another tool that we use all the time. Before we launch a new process, in this case, member safety awareness or near-miss cards, we do a survey. This is voice of the customer. And so our Rapid Improvement Workshop team comes together and they say, what questions would we ask about, in this case, near-miss, that would give us feedback as to what's right and what's wrong. And some of them have some fun, like this particular team did. They have a 1 through 4 scale, and 1 is they're out to lunch, they don't know anything. 2 needs improvement. 3 sort of kind of there, and 4 it's great. It's great. This is the way it ought to be. And on to the right here, again, though the font is small, what I want to do is to give you an example. So these questions are going to be developed. They're going to be trained. They're going to be done out to the field. There's going to be a database that goes with them. And this is kind of a small action item matrix to administer the survey, to get the data, and to get feedback from it. And to lower left-hand corner, quality standards, behaviors and conditions. So is the cause a behavior issue or a condition issue? And is the description accurate and understandable? Are the actions correct to resolve the issue? Does it indeed prevent losses? And you'll see later on that there's a personal risk assessment, red, very dangerous, yellow, caution, and has that fit in there. And so looking at just a couple of the questions, that would be a pre-survey. Is the current near-miss or close call system effective? Are you receiving and acknowledging submission of the card? Did you receive positive or timely feedback? And so a limited number, in this case only 6 questions, and we go out into the field before we launch the new process and get feedback, voice of the customer. Once we've piloted it, then we run the same survey to see if we resolve the issues. And a pilot typically takes kind of 60 to 90 days. There's a training session, there's feedback, there's cards, there's involvement, there's executive feedback and review. And this leads us to making sure that we're targeted on the right solution. Once again, practical examples of good near miss. What about risk assessment itself? So the last time we showed near miss, there was the red, yellow, green that you see in front of it. Red, stop immediately, could result in death or serious personal injury. Yellow, use caution, report the condition, fix it. Green, you can continue, but it's something that we need to pay attention to that could lead to damage or loss. One of the things that I truly like about near miss is that it trains personal risk assessment. And Caterpillar and Exxon are in the process of working through a detailed program on personal risk assessment, truly an upcoming pillar to safety performance. And Abby has a webinar planned later on in the year to work on personal risk assessment. I'll kind of leave it at that, but to me an exciting option, a new process that makes a difference on and off the job. And we start that by teaching personal risk assessment at the front line, red, yellow, green. Now here's another organization, red, stop immediately, yellow, use caution, and green, continue, but report it. And so this is kind of their definition to the people. A red is a design oversight. It's inadequate, and we're going to have to do something serious to fix it. A yellow, and we can probably do a field change and the like. Cost, greater than 20% chance of a $10,000 loss if it's a red, and a 10 to 20% chance of $1,000 to $10,000 and the like. And then timing, if this occurred, there'd be lost work of 1 day or more for a red, a half a day for a yellow and the like. And so this is an approach used by companies to better define how to do personal risk assessment at the front line and off the job. When I looked at the helmet situation scheme, it was a red for me all the way down the list. And so, yes, it was time to take the option, spend the money, get the right helmet, and protect myself from an infrequent event that could lead to catastrophe. And then here's another one from another organization. They decided it was either red or it was yellow. And if it was red, you stopped immediately, you reported it, and your work could not continue until the condition is corrected. So they have an excellent definition that goes with it. There's guidelines that go with that. There's training that goes with that. And obviously, if you put in this type of system and your people report a red, you must stop work. And so this is going to directly impact operations, and that means you've got to have upper management support before you launch something. And this, indeed, part of the Rapid Improvement Workshop is that there's a report out as to what's happening, and upper management gets a voice in it And when it's piloted, these definitions and these actions and reactions come into play, and they must be evaluated, perhaps modified, but in the end, you're going to have some type of definition like this that you must follow if your near-miss system is going to be effective. And so, what about data collection? Once again, think back to those 5 fatal flaws toward the front end. And IT and data collection was one of them. And this, time and again, is an issue with organizations as they do near miss. Frequently, from an engineering standpoint, we think of a very complex data collection system that what shift are you on, what's your name, what was the issue, what's the piece of equipment, and such a deep data dive that it takes a long time to develop a data collection system. You'll see from what's coming, these practical examples, that most of our organizations don't go that deeply. What you really want is to collect enough data to say that your system's working and that you can audit it. Now, an audit doesn't mean going to an individual person and giving them questions and answers or interrogating them. It says that this particular work cell does near miss, and they document the near misses and they resolve them. And so if I wanted to audit it, what I would do is I would, as a upper level manager will say, with this role play example here, I would go to that particular work cell and I would go to a frontline supervisor and I wouldn't ask him a yes-no question. Do you have a near-miss system? That's a yes-no question. I would ask him open-ended questions. Tell me about your near-miss system. What was the latest near-miss, and how did it impact your operation? What issues out there do you think still exist that are near-misses? And so from that, very quickly, I get data as to whether their system is functional or not. And then as I go talk to the frontline hourly employees, I ask similar questions. What near misses have you been involved with? Explain a near miss to me that has made a significant impact on what you do. And in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes, a pretty good idea that the near miss system either works or doesn't work in that area. And from that, feedback then as to what to do. So our data collection issues then are not so deep as you might see in other organizations. near misses and resolve them and eliminate the risks in the workplace and train our people how to be responsible for unsafe acts and conditions that occur on and off the job. Here, kind of another organization saying, well, what's the life of a near miss? So there's an observer. They report it either manually or electronically or verbally. There's an individual team that looks at it and screens it. Is it a EHS, environment, health, or safety issue? Is it a near miss? Is it a major or a non-major? That'd be a red or yellow. There's an incident investigation that goes with that. Is there, the higher committee for the really serious ones does some review. And so it might be reclassified as a close call or another type of incident. And so the idea here is that as you're training your people, you let them know what near miss is and what's going to happen to it and how you communicate and how you address and how you resolve. So now the databases. Abby, I hope I'm not moving too fast. Tremendous amount of material here, and the idea is not to make you experts in this, but to show you practical examples of organizations that have done well and have resolved the many issues with near miss, and to impress upon you there's a level of detail to get this thing right. And people have gone before you. You don't have to start from scratch. There's a tremendous amount of material out here that has delivered robust, excellent near-miss systems that have made a difference in safety. So this is kind of the more simple of them. This is a spreadsheet. And so what department did it occur in? What's the issue that was there? Who turned this in? Is it a red, a yellow, or a green? Target date, when are they going to fix it? When was it completed? Is it open or is it closed? And some comments. Just a simple spreadsheet. And easy for people to fill out and easy to action against. And not really a lot of IT time that goes with that. In fact, this done by one of our frontline hourly employees at one of our customers who love to work with computer systems, put together a pretty practical database that is frequently used by our customers and other organizations. Here then is something that has more detail, and from an electronic standpoint, there's a screen that comes up when you have a near miss. You go to the computer system at the front line, and you enter data. And so from this you can see who's going to do follow-up. Is it a near miss? Has it been closed? Who's the investigator? Has the card been filled out? Date information, red, yellow, green, low, medium, high, and then some details that goes with that. Give me some verbiage. Give me a drill down. The verbiage allows you to have keywords, and then more items that goes with it. So more detail, but once again, given an example like this, your IT group could generally put together a screen that fills out the data you need to have an effective near-miss system that not only reports the issues, but follows their resolution and allows you to communicate them to other people and other organizations. Doesn't have to be complete drill down capable, and that's the reason to show you these. So 2 examples, a screen that you fill in, and just a plain old spreadsheet. And they both work pretty effectively in your organization and your reality. You'll be kind of between one of these two. And so from that now, what about measures and activities for near misses? Well, kind of a typical from our customers. Typical measures: how many near misses have you had? How many per employee? What about, the ones that are opened or closed, the percent closed in a particular time frame, 10 days? I prefer 3 to 5 days, actually, to keep pressure on getting done. And what about red, yellows, and greens? And if it was a red, what percentage of those had 5 whys completed? Was it a condition or behavior? Real consistent stuff. And that's done by facilities, by areas, by departments, by shifts. And so typical near-miss measures that fill in data that work toward resolution that you can follow. And here, this one has, once again, is more detailed. And Abby will be able to send this to you. But these are accountabilities, safety awareness activities. And these activities lead to solutions. So what are the safety accountabilities in near miss for all employees? Taking a look at that first block up there, they identify the safety awareness situation and determine the risk level, red or yellow. They immediately stop work if it's a red. They correct the issues, and they complete a safeguard. So typical activities and accountabilities for frontline employees. What about middle managers? On a weekly basis, they review the receipt of these safeguards and assess the information. On a monthly basis, they apply specific positive feedback and discuss the quality of at least 2 of the safeguards submitted. So middle managers get quite a bit of data in from supervisors. They sort down to 2 that they think are most important, and they then inform their supervisors of the receipt of the red safeguards, and they give them feedback. You go down to the bottom now. The executives, they encourage discussion at a monthly IRP meeting, incident review panel. And so many organizations have a safety incident review panel that meets regularly. This particular one meets monthly. And they not only review injuries and condition issues and equipment issues, but they also review near misses. They discuss these safety awareness issues as a part of every time they're in the field, they discuss near misses and they recognize the high quality safeguards. And so the hourly employee fills them out, the supervisor puts them together and sends up ones that they think are significant, and those filter up through the organization. This is a critical step in near miss. Time and again, upper and middle managers are not engaged, and without feedback, then the focus on near miss kind of degrades and disintegrates. And so now here are visible upper management commitments to near miss that are focused in on issues that our people have made a personal risk assessment on and have resolved. One of the issues I've seen with these safety awareness activities is the executives get 1,000 cards a month, and they honestly put it off till the end of the month, scramble, and don't do a very good job of feedback. This is a sort down. Here's the 50 I got. Here's the 4 I want you to comment on. And you must do it consistently. Typically, the pilots start off, and the EHS manager, vice president, director, whatever that level is, focuses on these, figures them out, makes sure that the sort down occurs, and then passes those on to operations level executives. And usually after about 2 or 3 months of getting this down, then the EHS upper level manager moves out of the system, and these sort downs that are done correctly and appropriately become a part of the operations and quality executives' accountability, solution delivered activity. And this is an example of an organization that has focused in on how to do that. And that makes a huge difference in performance, upper management feedback, on the issues that are resolved before injuries occur. And that real simplified approach is we find it, we fix it, and then we move on. Most near-miss systems that don't work well, they find it and they move on. You must put the fix-it piece in there. And that really has been the purpose of this webinar, is to show you practical examples in the fix-it piece that allow you to find it and fix it and move on a regular basis. So take a look at some results. In this case, just a single slide. And so this organization, one of our customers, looked at near-miss reports per 10,000 work hours. So, in the North American world, the average person is figured to have worked 2,000 hours a year. That's 40 hours a day times 50 weeks, 2,000 hours. And so this is 5 man years or 5 effort years of work. How many near misses per 5 people working a year? And you can see they kicked off their near miss system at the end of February 2024, and just a huge difference in the number of near misses reported in a relatively short period of time. That spike, a result of a good near miss system. And this is kind of a typical metric that you might have. Now here's reports. There's another one that says near-miss resolutions. So what percent, how many near misses per 5 employees per year are resolved? And you can see they've gone from less than 3 per 5 employees, so that's less than 1 per year, to 16. That's more than 5 per employee per year. Huge difference. And does that go to the bottom line injury rates? Our experience is that it does. And our accountability model, and once again, many of you have seen this, define, train, measure, recognize. And this whole process, we defined what a near miss was. We trained people how to do it. We measured how well they did it, and then we gave them feedback. And that near miss system, that good near miss system, does define, train, and measure, feedback. And so bottom line, I'd like you to develop a strong process, implement metrics that affect performance reviews. Yes, affect performance reviews. This deals with the money we pay hourly and salaried people, and near miss is a piece of it. It's a major piece of your performance review throughout the organization, not just hourly and supervision. You saw how upper management has a piece of it as well. They must be engaged in a value-added approach, not activities for the sake of activities, but activities that help deliver solutions. It's a consistent, viable management feedback that keeps reinforcing the importance of our people finding it and fixing it on the job and off the job. And so now, Abby, I'm going to send this back to you for any Q&A or any close-up that you want over the next 10 minutes or so. Abby?
All right, thank you, Mike, and thanks to everybody on the line. We will begin our Q&A portion in a moment, but first I want to share information about our product promotion here. Everyone on the line today may receive 50% off this program, Report It, which is a turnkey training program. The coupon code here, which is webinar0114, can be entered into the safety.cat.com shopping cart once you add this Report It product to your shopping cart. So if you have any questions at all about this, you can feel free to send us an email there at the safetyservices@cat.com email. So now moving forward to some of the questions that we received throughout the presentation. Mike, upper management sees large numbers of reported near misses as a problem. How do we help them understand that it is good?
We ran onto that with one of our customers with work units that had relatively thousands of employees, and so they're getting in thousands of near miss, and they become overwhelmed. And so the real issue is shown kind of toward the end of the presentation, which is how do we sort those down to the 4 or 5 I want them to comment on. And that sort down process means that the supervisors get them. They don't get thousands, they get tens. And they say, this is the one I want you to focus in on. And so as it goes up through the line, chain of command, instead of getting thousands of them, they get half a dozen or so every month. And then their feedback goes to these half or dozen or so that reinforce an excellent process and excellent results. And I couldn't sort through thousands of them either. So what I want is management by exception. Sometimes they're real significant stuff like reds, and sometimes they are, wow, I kind of like this one. This is a good thing that we can use that sort of exemplifies the spirit of the whole near-miss thing. And I like to get kind of that expression, that spectrum, ones that are really important and ones that say, we're doing the job right. And then from a upper management standpoint, I can call that particular facility and talk to the manager. Or if I am headed out to that particular facility, I've got a list of positive reinforcements I'd like to give. This is how we've generally resolved the flood of near misses that comes in, by focusing in on the few that we want to reinforce. Hope that answers the question.
Okay, the next question is, who is considered competent to choose red, yellow, or green for a near miss? Research shows that workers can't identify 55% of hazards, perceive risks to be 50% lower than actual, and have greater than 2 times the risk tolerance of their managers.
Wow. This is a nice, deep question. What we have done to address this is not to worry too much about the statistics, but in our training programs, we use kind of a Toyota production system, Caterpillar production system approach, in that once you've been trained in near miss, the video, the forms, the accountabilities, the responsibilities, what's a red, what's a yellow, what's a green, and you can see that there's some data in here that explains what that is. A few practical examples as to what a red is on the workplace. So now, wow, my training, remember define, train, my training gets some depth other than, could lead to an injury, not enough detail and could lead to an injury to understand the red, yellow, green, or red, yellow approach that goes with that. And then within the first week of being trained on this, you must turn in a safe card or a near-miss card, and that then your supervisor, who gets to see lots of these, has also developed his red, yellow definition, example, concept, and he gives you feedback, he or she gives you feedback on this near-miss card, positive feedback. And from that then, a better, consistent, analytical risk assessment that helps. Perfect? No, but over time, as you do more and more of these, closer and closer to targets as to whether it's a red or yellow.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. The next 2 questions are both about incentives or rewards, so I'm going to read both of them, and I think you can probably address them together in one answer. The first is, since many near misses result from unsafe acts, how do you incentivize near-miss reporting from the front line without rewarding unsafe behavior? And the second is, we have seen an increase in near misses being reported when we implemented a reward for filling out and submitting near misses. Is this an acceptable way of getting employees to submit near misses?
Okay, 2-part question. Repeat the first part again, please, Abby.
Since many near misses result from unsafe acts, how do you incentivize near miss reporting from the front line without rewarding unsafe behavior?
Okay, and this is a very often expressed question. So people make mistakes and they want to get a free pass so they don't get punished. and so they turn in a near-miss card. Many organizations have what they call cardinal rules, lockout, tagout being one of them. If you violate a lockout, tagout, you have a high probability of being discharged or getting time off. And near-miss doesn't really apply to I violated a cardinal rule. It's not a matter of giving you a free pass. We expect you to follow our processes. And so if you turn in a near-miss, a viable near-miss, you can count on there's not a punishment that goes with it. And if it's a behavior-related issue, you can count on that we'll share it with other people saying, from time to time we just forget. And this is a near-miss behavior that we need to pay attention to because it does occur in the workplace. Now, the teams themselves, the Rapid Improvement Workshops, address these issues of what do we do with cardinal rules and behavior issues, and they have a good discussion on them. And since it's hourly and salaried people, some organized labor, some not, and it just depends on your company, they come to a solution that says it looks like it works. They pilot it in the facility, and from that, they reach a solution. If you start in the punishment mode for near-miss, you can count on that your whole near-miss system will disappear, and people will go underground and not do it. And yet, it's a viable issue. So have that discussion about conditions and actions, deliver a solution that works for your organization, and then train it and administer it consistently. Now, the other one as to rewards that are monetary or tactile, again, a kind of a function of your individual culture. Some organizations pay money for these things. One of the organizations we dealt with, a construction site, what they did is they had a monthly safety evaluation. They used to deal with number of days since last injury, but they found that a number of near misses resolved by the work group, audits that were done on conditions and by supervisors and managers, and employee contacts were kind of three things that made a huge difference in safety. And so they developed a scorecard, and you got points for supervisor audits of conditions, management walkthroughs, safety contacts, and near misses resolved. And so that then led to a compilation of points every month, and the work group that had the most points got to park closest to the gate, and they left 5 minutes early. And that led to a huge interest in these three concepts that they found made a difference in safety. And so then they had a weekly total, and the top three crews parked close to the gate and left 5 minutes early. And their metric, instead of number of days since last injury, became the score of near misses, audits, and safety contacts. And so some organizations hand out T-shirts. The ones that seem to be most effective is the feedback from upper management to individual employees about a particular near miss that the manager felt was important and should be reinforced. And those seem to work the best, because when an upper manager gives you feedback throughout the organization, it spreads like wildfire. My preference is the feedback that also forces the upper managers to have some engagement, not just the hourly front line. Once again, your pilot group talks about measures and the feedback and what works best for your organization and culture. Abby?
Okay, so we talked about reward, recognition, potentially incentives on one end of the spectrum, and on the other end of the spectrum now, discipline. So what are your thoughts about repercussions or discipline resulting from a near-miss report? Should there be any?
You want to kill a near-miss system, you start doing discipline. And so I don't believe there should be punitive discipline. I do, however, believe as a frontline supervisor, if somebody turns me in something that could have led to discipline, I need to have that frontline discussion, frontline supervisor to hourly employee, that is honest, is face-to-face, delivers potential consequences, and make sure that the employee understands that this isn't something we do on the work, on this culture, on this job. And I need to train my supervisors how to do that, because conflict is a tough thing. Our supervisors generally are up through the ranks. They've been a part of the labor force or bargaining unit, and they know these issues and how difficult they can be. So we must train our frontline supervisors how to deal in difficult situations. I've been put in those situations. Back early in my career, if you fell asleep on the job, you were fired. And I had one of my employees that we stuck him in a situation in a warm room where he had to sit kind of looking at gauges, and I walked in and he was asleep. I didn't fire him. That led to a very strong, honest conversation, and I found that when I'd done that, once again, it spread like wildfire across the whole organization, and they understood that it wasn't about firing people, but it was about making sure we did the job right all the time. A tough circumstance. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, next one. We're getting ready to wrap up here, but let's do one more. Why omit root cause analysis for the yellow and green near misses? Because potentially all problems deserve evaluation.
The team that I showed you there, the red root cause analysis, was an effort to finally start root cause analysis at the front line, and they felt that if they did root cause analysis for everything, that they would overwhelm their workforce and there'd be negative feedback and, it's just more and more meetings and paperwork. I think you will find that what they were trying to do was progress to that. They started with reds, and once they'd resolved their reds, then they moved on to yellows. I don't remember if they ever moved on to greens. That first flow chart I showed you on incident evaluation from Imperial Oil Canada got down to a point where they were doing root cause analysis, reds and yellows. I'm not sure about greens. And so the idea is it's a progression. Let's train them how to do it on reds, and then once we've got those under control, yes, we'll move this tool on down. And again, your rapid improvement workshop team has that discussion, makes that decision, and then does define, train, measure, recognition based on the system, the upstream process that they've delivered. Back to you, Abby.
Okay, thanks so much, Mike. We are now over our 1 hour promised time frame, so we're going to wrap up Q&A now. If you submitted a question or a comment for Mike that we didn't have time for today, please feel free to send us an email at safetyservices@cat.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you on that fairly quickly. All of you will receive a follow-up email with instructions to go to our website for the recording of this event, as well as a PDF version of the slide deck. And also, don't forget we have this near-miss reporting program promotion running through February 22nd. You can use that coupon code webinar0114 in our shopping cart at safety.cat.com to order that Report It for a 50% off discount. This is exclusive to webinar attendees. So again, I want to thank all of you for hanging on the line today, for joining us for this event. I want to thank Mike, our presenter, another tremendous presentation from you, and I hope all of you will join us for our next webinar event, which will be February 19th on safety management systems. So have a terrific day, everyone. Thanks for joining us.